tower defense game, I want to say.
With penguins in a weird...
Where you play it, yeah. And the whole goal of the game is you have to stop evil penguins from turning into evil mutant penguins.
Well, penguins wearing hats.
Yeah, you stop the penguins wearing hats from turning into evil mutant penguins. And to do that, you have to find letters in treasure chests to get that spell out either bat or pan, depending on which character you're playing as. But you need the only way to open treasure chests is you have to collect gremlins.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, gremlins. These little blue fuzzy creatures.
And then once you get your bat, it doesn't actually damage anything. You have to collect these power orbs that you get from hitting enemies. And then once you get your bat powered up, then you can kill all the evil penguins. You have to do this before the doom scale gets outweighed evil versus good.
Which the doom scale is this giant, like...
purple frowny face thing.
Purple frowning face, and it like screams as like
it goes apeshit once it gets knocked out of whack. It was so bizarre. Confusing. Like I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Like we played a good 3 rounds and we tried, and it looks cool. It's a great looking game. Like it looks really good.
I feel like it's something
beautiful 2D.
You have to get the hang of, like once you really.
I'm sure I can figure it out.
I'm sure like it would be easier, but it's bizarre.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. On this episode, me and Alex are going to be discussing Atari's final foray, at least at the time, into the console video game market with the supposedly 64-bit Atari Jaguar console, going over some of the system's brief history, along with some of the games we managed to play and just some of our thoughts on this strange, underrated, fascinating piece of video game hardware. It's kind of a trip, and as it tells you, you need to do the math sometimes. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, how you been?
It's been a while since we recorded. It was Thanksgiving.
Yep, it's been Thanksgiving. We've had a couple weeks in between episodes.
Yep.
A lot of eating and feeling like crap.
Yep.
You know.
The holidays.
Mm-hmm. And it's officially December now.
So, get your Christmas on. But if you don't celebrate Christmas, get whatever you celebrate on. Woo!
The world's been celebrating Christmas since September, so.
Yeah, well, it's funny, the stores sell the stuff in September.
I'm surprised the mall doesn't put the fucking ornaments up fucking July at this point.
I'm surprised they just don't take them down.
I know.
Just leave them.
I saw Santa was out this year.
Nice.
He wasn't there last year.
No. Well, it was funny, when I was home, we went to our mall, and it's so funny, because, like, those Christmas decorations are the same decorations that have been there since we were kids.
Yeah, so a good
They've never changed.
Gotta be more than 30 years.
Yeah, it has to be. But, you know, they still look pretty nice, so. I wonder how many farts the Christmas chair has in it. You know, it has probably like 30 years of farts in it.
So you ask that question. I'm the one that's wondering. I wonder if how those ornaments haven't fallen and caused a serious problem.
They probably have. They're probably not that heavy.
I don't know.
Yeah, but like, think about it. Do they really like wash that chair? Do they clean that chair? They don't clean that chair. They don't. I don't believe it. It probably smells.
I bet it's. Yeah, but you also got to take into account there's probably Easter bunny farts in that thing too.
Ew, probably. Oh yeah, because they reuse it for Easter.
Yeah, because all right, so sitting in Santa's lap is already kind of weird. I just have to rant about this for a second.
I always hated it. We hated it.
I know
as
you
kids.
did. No, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of like that's a little weird. But
Yeah.
you were
Old...
terrified.
Yeah, because at a young age, I knew that was just some random old man, and I didn't want to sit in his lap. So,
Yeah. Except your childhood innocence still believed the one at Santa's village was real.
Yeah, that was Santa's village. Wait, what are you trying to tell me? That's not the real one. What are you trying to say, Bill?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's the real one.
But
it's his village. It's Santa's.
Anyways, where I was going with this rant, though, Santa's lap is one thing. Sitting on the Easter Bunny's lap, that's just fucking strange. I will never understand that.
Yeah, I don't really get that. I
don't get the Easter Bunny in general, but
we got Santa pictures always, but we didn't always get the Easter Bunny pictures, and I'm kind of okay with that.
That's just weird.
Especially that bunny costume is creepy to this day. I don't know. I've also just have a fear of people in costumes, so you know that. Like in general, I'm not a huge fan of mascots. Like I used to do that Patriots cheerleaders thing. And, like, Pat the Patriot would come. And Pat the Patriot is terrifying. He's terrifying.
See, he does nothing to me because it's just a dude in a rubber mask.
That freaks me. It's a giant rubber mask.
That reminds me of something we'll be talking about at another time, but beside the point. So, even though it's Thursday today, are you drinking anything for this fine podcast?
Yes, I'm drinking a Hint Watermelon edition. It's a water that's hinted with watermelon. It's refreshing and 0 calories.
Yeah. I'm drinking a cocktail in a can, so.
Oh, are those the same from when I was home?
Yeah.
Nice.
They're not bad.
Guess what?
It's your cat.
Wooster's behind me and she's napping. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I restarted my cat's Instagram. So, if you want to follow it, it's at YawnCatTilly on Instagram. You should follow her. She's really cute. I post maybe 3 times a day, most of the time 2. But yeah, you should follow her because she's adorable. I
guess anything else happened? Oh, I bought a new crunch board.
Ah, nice. Oh.
Yeah, so
you go, and I'll say.
So I've been meaning to. I'm trying to get back into exercising more regularly.
Yep.
So I bought a new crunch board for our basement, and I bought it, and it was specifically more aggressive than the old one we used to have. And I was thinking, oh, it's not that bad. So I did it. I did the first day, and I'm like, this is nothing. And then I tried. I couldn't get up in the morning.
Abs do that to you.
I still can't really bend. I was like, I've made a horrible mistake.
Yep. No.
But it'll be worth it once I can routinely do them again. So.
Yes. Abs take time. It's sore when you first get back into it, but.
Oh yeah. I tried to do one today, and I was like, nope.
Not today. Well,
I was like, I got half of one, and I was like, nope.
Well, kind of a similar topic, I guess, working out. I actually, I was doing some, it was recently my Irish dance, regional competition. I wasn't dancing or anything, but, it's, as you say, it's a cult, so me and Mom can't help but look and see. Well, because it's fun, especially, too, because, some of the kids, I used to dance with were, babies, and to see them where they are now, it's just, it's so incredible and inspiring, and I love watching it, because I love supporting them, and, may not be there, but I'm rooting for them from sideways, but...
Yeah, some of the kids that were babies are now your age, and some of the people that were your age are still dancing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people are still dancing,
It's alright, I had to leave the, So I used to, for anyone who doesn't know, I used to be in a JROTC program called the Sea Cadets, and I still was a part of the discussion forum on Facebook.
Yep.
And I just finally left the group because I'm like, I can't take this shit anymore.
Yeah. No. I'm not part of any groups. I'll just follow them, but...
I just never left. It was one of those things.
Yeah.
I finally was like, I'm leaving this.
I'm pretty certain I'm still part of, a group from high school like, it was like a seniors group, and it was basically someone organizing all the senior things going on. But anyways,
well, I'm still part of my my shop group. So.
We didn't. Well, if we had one, I wasn't part of it because my shop was kind of jerks to me. But anyway,
yeah, you didn't like your shop. I liked it.
No, it's
mine.
not even that I didn't like my shop. It's just that they.
No, I mean you didn't like your group. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not even that. I just didn't like how they treated me. To be honest, I mean, I had no problems with any of them, you know. But they decided to treat me horribly. You know, I'm not gonna hate people for being kids in high school. There's no point. But, you know, I didn't like how I was treated, but I don't hate them because there's no point. Because if I hate them, then I'm gonna be bitter about it. So I'm just like, whatever. We were in high school. But anyways, as I was trying to say, I found a dance studio that's really close to me, and they offer like adult classes like later at night. So I might sign up for it. It's like once a week, and it's just a good exercise. So I thought it would be fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, any last things you want to bring up before we get into our topic?
Oh, I could tell you my chair story. Well, I kind of told you a little bit already, but basically, I got this chair, and it was in my office, and no one was using it. It was in the back of our workshop, so my boss said, yeah, you could take it. Because, if you see in our Instagram, Bill posted a picture of my setup, and I had just 2 stools, but now I've replaced it with a drafting chair, which is basically a office chair, but it's taller. And it's great.
Oh, so you're like the guy who like lifts his chair up all the way, only it's meant to be that high.
Well, see... Oh, shit.
You're gonna wipe out.
Wait. Hold on. Wait, I think it can go higher.
Don't break it. Don't. Oh, God. We aren't even at our topic yet. You're already about to die.
Bill can't tell, but my knees are legitimately hitting the table. Like, that's how high it is, so I'm gonna... Okay.
Yeah, don't break it on day one.
Yeah. But anyways, my whole story behind it was I was bringing it in to my apartment, and it's big, and it's the bottom is a lot heavier than the chair part. So I'm carrying it, and it's a longer chair because it's a drafting chair. So I'm carrying it into my apartment. I get up the stairs. I'm like, whoa, didn't hit anything. I turn it, and I just bang it into my neighbor's door. And I felt horrible. So literally 2 seconds later, they run downstairs and they're thinking I'm like delivering a package. So I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was so excited that like I got it up the stairs successfully that I got too cocky and I just banged it straight into your door. And I felt horrible. I felt so bad. And he was like, oh, it's totally fine. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad.
They felt bad when they moved in, so it's even now.
Yeah, I nailed it against the door. Like, I was kind of shocked there wasn't a dent. Like, I'm genuinely shocked. There wasn't, though. But I just, like, you know how, like, you're on a roll, and then you just, like, it takes one move, and you're just, like, so.
Yeah, it's like when you run up, when you, like, sprint up the stairs, and you're so happy that you trip over the top final step.
Yep. So, that's my funny chair story. But I made it into my apartment, and now I have a much comfier chair for podcasting, so. And I can spin.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, anyways, now to get into our topic. So,
yep.
Over Thanksgiving break, we played some games because we were gonna get some get some material to talk about, and we decided we were gonna play another system and do another system retrospective.
Yeah.
So our system of choice for this time was we decided to go not popular because Alex doesn't like popular things.
No. I like the unpopular. I like the garbage. I like the trash. That's what I like.
So, I've been told on Instagram that I have an odd fascination with failed video game consoles, like an odd love for them, as you've seen with our 3DO episode. And honestly, we should really do a Virtual Boy episode at some point.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be hard to. That would be interesting and hard to do though. But anyways, for this episode, we're going to be talking about the Atari Jaguar.
Yes.
Now, the Jaguar is probably the most obscure system I own, tied with the 3DO, probably. And when you want to talk about the Jaguar's history is very confusing.
Yes.
Actually, it's not even the Jaguar's history.
It's Atari's.
It's Atari's history. So, a lot of more casual people don't understand that the Atari that was founded in the 70s and the Atari of today are two very, very different companies.
Yes.
So before we go into this, I just want to give a brief, simple explanation of the history of Atari.
Yes.
So Atari was founded as Atari Inc. by Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney, I think was the other guy's name.
That sounds right.
And they were founded, they made Pong, they made the 2600, the 5200, a whole bunch of successful things. Eventually they're bought by, I believe it was, I want to say CBS maybe, or maybe not CBS, or some company bought them. And eventually they got so in bankrupt because of all the video game crash and all the poor decisions that they had gone through that they went bankrupt. And by then, Nolan Bushnell had already left the company, and he went on to found Chuck E. Cheese, of all things.
I mean, they're still open to this day, so...
I mean, they lasted a while. I mean, they were successful.
Yep.
But, so, Atari was then sold off and split into two companies. You had Atari Corp.
Yep.
So, Atari Inc. at this point is dead.
Oh, okay.
You
no
have
more Atari.
No. So now you have Atari Corp, which was the computer division and like the marketing, like hardware side of everything. And then you had Atari Games, who made all the arcade stuff. And pretty much all the games.
Yep.
So Atari Corp was sold off to Jack Tramiel, who was the founder of Commodore Computers. And we'll get back to what happened to Atari Corp later, because Atari Corp is the company that made the Jaguar.
Oh.
Now, Atari Games, on the other hand, their history is a lot more fascinating.
Okay.
So Atari Games was bought by Namco, of all companies, the Japanese company, Pac-Man.
Yep.
And Namco, the president of Namco put one of his, I think the president of Namco USA, they put him in charge of Atari.
Yep.
So Atari was kind of working as a separate entity, but it was still technically owned by Time Warner, I believe. Yeah, it was Time Warner. Time Warner owned it. So it was partially owned by Time Warner, partially owned by Namco, and then I think his name was Nakajima. He also owned a percentage of Atari Games.
Yep.
Now, Atari Games never stopped putting out those awesome games. Like Atari Games never stopped. Like, they were still pumping out all these games. Like, you had classics like Clax, one of my favorite games of all time. But the thing is, Atari Corp owned the rights to use the Atari name for publishing.
Oh, okay.
So Atari Games could not publish under the Atari name.
Oh.
So they created... Exactly. So they created Tengen. Which is where those third-party Nintendo cartridges that were unlicensed came from.
Oh, shoot.
Because Nintendo had really draconian policies back in the day. Like, companies could only make like 3 games per year and stuff like that. They had to follow very strict rules and stuff. And they reverse engineered or basically stole how the Nintendo lockout chips worked.
Yep.
And made their own unlicensed cartridges.
Wow.
And eventually it was a lawsuit, a whole bunch of things happened.
You can't do that today.
Somehow the history of Tetris gets involved in it. It's a very complicated story. I'm not going to give the full thing, but eventually they split off from Nintendo and they start making games for the Genesis instead.
Yeah.
And they went around up until around the beginning of the PlayStation era, where they were kind of reabsorbed back into Time Warner. And they kept going until eventually Midway Games bought out Time Warner Interactive, and then they became a division of Midway Games.
Yep.
And eventually they were just kind of closed down. And their final game was a PS2 game called Dr. Muto.
Yep.
And that's the interesting story of Atari games.
Huh.
Now, Atari Corp, on the other hand, they're a bit more interesting because they were kind of more low-key.
Yep.
Rather than making games, per se, they were more into hardware, and they made PCs, like the Atari PC line, because the guy who bought Atari Corp was the former founder of Commodore computers.
Yeah.
And he had no interest in video game stuff. He was only into computers, even though computers back then were basically just video games.
Huh.
So they went on for a while, and eventually, when the NES got big, he put out the 7800, which was... Originally, it was made around the beginning before the crash, but they shelved it. And then by the time it came out, it was so out of date, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
And that failed. And then they tried again with the Lynx, which was it was an answer to the Game Boy, like a handheld.
Yeah.
Really powerful handheld for the time. But the Game Boy had better battery life and better games. And it had Tetris.
Yeah.
So, even though what am I saying? I was going to say the Lynx had clacks, but so did the Game Gear and the Game Boy. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, why?
But it is a very impressive system with some really surprisingly pretty good graphics and a really nice screen and backlight.
Hey.
And it's ambidextrous.
Oh, that's nice.
Like it's something that doesn't really matter because people have just adapted, but
yeah,
you could actually flip the thing and put the D-pad on the other side if you really wanted. It was an option.
It was a thing.
But so now we're gonna get into the actual Jaguar. So around the towards the end of the NES's lifespan and getting into the 4th gen, Atari basically they found this other studio called Flare Technologies who were making this like system that was pretty impressive for the time.
Yeah.
And they had pushed them into making 2 different systems, one called the Panther and another called the Jaguar.
Oh, okay.
Now, the Panther was a 32-bit system that was supposed to be released around, like, 91, so right around the Super Nintendo, like, time the Super Nintendo came out.
Yep.
And it was kind of like... It was honestly kind of like an overclocked Genesis, from what I've read.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, if it had come out in 91...
Yep.
I think it might have actually done pretty well.
Successful? Wow.
Well, it was designed differently too. Like it had a more straightforward system, as they say. And 91 was different than 93, I want to say. Now, the company was also working on the Jaguar, which was a 64-bit system in a sense.
Yep.
And because of the progress of the Panther compared to the Jaguar, and the Jaguar was very far ahead, they decided to scrap the Panther.
Yep.
Everything that was being developed for the Panther was moved over to the Jaguar. And they went with the Jaguar.
Yep.
Now, the Jaguar is a fascinating piece of hardware because it is a confusing, questionably designed system when you actually look into it. So, the Jaguar's hardware is composed of 2 32-bit processors that have 64-bit like co-processors.
Yep.
And they add up to technically 64 bits.
64 bits, but in reality...
Bits... It's also part of the whole misconception of bits mean graphics, which isn't 100% true.
No.
Now, the Jaguar was composed of 2 primary chips. There was the Tom chip and the Jerry chip.
Yes.
Haha, funny.
Tom and Jerry.
The Tom chip was the primary, like, graphics processor and everything. The Jerry chip was, like, the sound processor.
Yep.
And then it had a Motorola 68000, which is the same processor that the Sega Genesis and the Neo Geo use.
Yep.
Which was designed to be kind of like a manager that was designed to kind of manage the 2.
Yep.
The problem is the Jaguar did not have enough resources. Like there was no cache, there was no true control chips. That it was kind of hard to get all of them to work together.
Yep.
And because the 6800 was such a common chip at the time, a lot of developers just used that. and
Yeah.
ignored the actual hardware. So that's why a lot of Jaguar games just look like overclocked Genesis games.
Yep.
Now other thing too is because there was no dedicated like managing hardware,
Yep.
a lot of companies would use the sound chip as like an additional coprocessor clock like unit.
Yep.
So a lot of Jaguar games don't have sound because the sound chip is being used as other things.
And it makes it pretty awkward at times because you just
Yeah,
hear.
and the problem is too is that the Jaguar actually supposedly had sound capabilities almost on par with the Super Nintendo.
Wow.
But to actually utilize them in gameplay overtaxed the system beyond belief.
Yeah.
Like, so one of the founder, the guy who was running Atari by this point, Atari Corp by this point, Sam Tremella, Jack Tremella's son.
Yep.
He made a claim that's been criticized that the Jaguar was more powerful than the Saturn, but around like the Saturn PlayStation level, which people have criticized. Although there is some people have theorized that if it was properly designed, and it had an actual dedicated processor to handle all the other stuff,
If it wasn't
it might have.
janky. No.
Well, that's the thing. The Tom chip had capabilities of texture mapping.
Yeah.
The problem was if it didn't have anything to control. Like there wasn't enough memory and stuff. Like it was overclocked and overtaxed.
Yeah.
And it couldn't handle it.
And,
That was the Jaguar's
developers
problem.
Didn't want to. It was too difficult to even.
Well,
try.
here's the other thing. The Atari Jaguar's dev kits were glitchy. For one.
Oh.
And the actual hardware specs were poorly documented, so a lot of developers didn't even know what to do.
Oh no. So they were just like, what do I do with this shit? Like.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And it's been theorized that it actually, believe it or not, the Jaguar we'll get to it at the end, but the Jaguar has a very strong homebrew community.
Yeah.
Because the system is 100% open source.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's theorized that the system was actually pretty powerful. Like it wasn't a joke. It wasn't it was no N64, but the N64 was also overpowered to begin with.
Yeah.
I think it was around Saturn. Well, even then, we don't even know how powerful the Saturn really was.
Yeah. No, that's
the fifth
true.
generation. The fifth generation of gaming is a fascinating generation entirely, even if it was a mass.
Shit. No.
No, it was a generation of awesomeness.
Yeah.
The problem was, no one really talks about Gen 5 because it was such a curb stomp because the PlayStation killed everybody.
Ah. Well, okay, so it wasn't shit. It was just shit for everyone who wasn't the PlayStation.
Pretty much. I mean, the N64 has a dedicated fan base, but...
Not me. Oh, wait, did we play the N64 or did we play...
We played the N64.
And I hated that one, right?
Yeah, you didn't.
Yes.
You didn't like it.
Yeah, see, I'm not part of that fan base. I'm part of the Jaguar fan base. I had a lot more fun playing some Jag.
So before we get into this, so your preferred 64-bit console is the Jaguar?
Yes, yes, it is. Especially when it's in a
Fascinating.
dentist office. That's my favorite way to play it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. But yeah. So
Whoa.
before we talk about our actual experience with the system,
Yes.
I want to talk about the ads for the Jaguar.
Yes.
This was like peak video game, in-your-face advertising.
Yep.
So the Jaguar ad is one of the most famous ads in video game history. It's basically a schoolroom with this stereotypical overbearing teacher.
Yep.
And the whole joke is it's a math class, and the teacher points out the Genesis is only 16-bit. This 3DO is 32-bit. What is the Jaguar? 64-bit.
Yep.
Any questions? And it's just this guy in the audience going, and it's like, Jaguar, Jaguar, Jaguar.
I remember that.
And it constantly has her circling, do the math on the board.
Yeah.
And that was the famous ad. And it was so in your face and so insulting, but awesome at the same time. And we weren't alive for it, so we didn't experience it at the time.
Oh yeah, but we've seen it now to this day, and it's funny because it's very a piece of history, because at the time bits were everything. Like,
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that
they
was
put it on consoles. I mean, the N64, the like.
TurboGrafx 16. The
Yeah.
Jaguar literally says 64-bit on it. The Genesis said 16-bit.
Yeah. Bits
Here's the thing, though.
Bits were important at the time, I guess.
The Jaguar is honestly killed the bit war.
Yeah, everyone's just like, all right, I don't think bits matter.
So now let's get into our actual experience.
Oh wait,
The
we should
console,
talk
it's-
about the console itself. And
Well, yeah, that's what I'm
the
saying.
design.
So the console itself is actually, in my opinion, a very attractive looking system.
Yeah, it doesn't look that bad. Well,
When
except
you don't have a certain add-on that we'll get
you
to
don't
later.
have a certain add-on. It actually, it's pretty unique for the time.
It looks nice. It's sleek. I will criticize it though. It has some flaws.
Yeah, the
For
fact
one-
that it doesn't have a door for the cartridge.
Yeah, there's no dust. Granted, Atari systems never did this.
Yeah. Which is very
is just-
stupid in my mind. Like, it's just a very
Well,
bad system.
Back in the day, that it wasn't really a thing.
Well, yeah, back in the day, they didn't really think about things like that.
But yeah, there's no dust cover, so I always I eternally have a game cartridge in my Jaguar at all times,
Yep.
just to protect the board.
Yeah. No, you gotta.
Another thing is the back. The backside is very confusing at first glance.
Yes.
So, I've heard multiple times people say the Jaguar is only in RF. It doesn't have AV cables. That is not true.
Nope.
The Jaguar just has one of the most bizarre AV inputs I've ever seen.
Yes.
And you know what confused me too the most? It literally says AV input on the back.
Yeah.
Like, there's no denying that it has AV. People just, I guess the cables were. The cables were expensive. I had to pay like $50 for them because mine didn't come with them. But
Oh, that sucks.
the Jaguar's AV connects directly to the board because the board actually sticks out of the back of the system. It's right there.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, that was weird. Like, seeing that was like, it made me uncomfortable almost. It just didn't feel right. Like, it didn't feel right. Like, that shouldn't.
Well,
no, that's
some-
not how it's supposed to
back in-
be.
See, back in the day when the old console reviews were common on YouTube, and when it was popular to shit on the Jaguar just because,
Yeah.
everyone used to always be like, "This is a terrible design," and I'm like, "It's not ideal, but in hindsight, it's actually kind of cool."
I mean, it's interesting, but it seems like it's very easy to potentially damage.
Well, yeah, as a child.
Well, just because
granted,
I'm
kid-
imagining like a kid being like, I can't get it to
Yeah.
work, and then just shoving it in there and breaking it. Like, that's all I can think of. Also, because sometimes when I'm doing something, I get angry and I shove it in there, and then I go, oh, it's broken because I'm technically 6, so
Yeah.
I'm still allowed to do it, but don't
The
do
thing,
that.
the thing is though, because it's directly into the board, the video quality coming out of the AV is really good.
Yeah. No, it was.
Even through my even through the HDMI converter, the Jaguar graphics look really nice.
Yeah.
And then of course we should probably talk about the controller.
Yeah.
So I will say, anyone who claims it's uncomfortable, I don't think you've ever held one because it's not uncomfortable. It's just big.
You know what? I say any controller that doesn't have a stupid 3-prong system is 10 out of 10 a great controller. Fuck the N64. I hate it. Anyways, the only thing is...
Even the Philips CDI spoon controller?
Yeah, sure, I'll take that. It looks pretty comfortable to me. It doesn't have 3 prongs, so I'm okay with it.
It's literally a spoon.
Oh well, I'll use it to soup my I was gonna say spoon
Okay.
my cereal, but it was funny if you've noticed most Atari, well, besides the original controller, which was just the joystick and the button, there was that age of controllers where they all had keypads for some reason, and it just
Yes.
looks like you were talking on the phone. And this
The
one also has a
5200, the
keypad.
Intellivision, and the ColecoVision.
ColecoVision, yep. But
Something from the time that was back when companies didn't know how to make controllers yet, and they were experimenting.
yeah.
The Jaguar was at a point where it was like, yeah, this was a failed idea that didn't work.
There's no games that actually utilize those buttons.
Some do,
Okay,
I
the
believe,
games we
cer-
didn't play. didn't utilize them.
They might have. I just don't. I don't have the inserts that go over, so I didn't know.
Oh, maybe that's how we weren't able to get the special moves.
Oh, but yeah, the controller has like over like 12, like 13 buttons. Oh, and fun fact, there was a Pro Atari controller that had an extra row of buttons.
Oh, wow.
Like, so it had 6 on it, plus it had bumpers on the corners.
I kind of want to see that now. Pro.
I've been trying to find one, and they are expensive as shit.
I bet.
I mean, just getting a second regular Jaguar controller was expensive.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I found it!
It has little bumpers, too.
It does have bump. Oh, yeah. I remember. That was one of the things I remember the most about it was, like, especially after I've been playing my Switch a lot recently, and I've been having to use the bumpers a lot. So, like, when I first put my hands on, I was like, where are the bumpers? Where are the bumpers? Where are the bumpers? No.
No, but I always say, like, people say it's an uncomfortable controller, and I'm like, it's not that uncomfortable. It's just big and stupidly designed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little chunky, but honestly, looking at it now, the
D-pad is fine, and the 3 buttons are fine. Like,
it's
not
like any
a bad...
bigger than the Dreamcast controller.
No, it's honestly more comfortable than the Dreamcast controller in a lot of ways.
No, yeah, I agree. I thought it was more comfortable. My hands weren't cramping.
I love the Dreamcast, but its controller is flawed.
Yeah.
Hard plastic was not a good choice for that. That's all I'll say.
Nope.
But yeah, and then before we get into the games, I want to talk about one last thing about the Jaguar.
Yes.
It has one quirk that a lot of people don't know about that I should point out. Because a lot of Jaguars, I'm convinced, got sent to an early grave because of this.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The system's power light is a little weird.
Yes.
If there is no game in the system, it will not light up.
Yeah.
You need to have a game inserted before it lights up.
Yep.
I am convinced Jaguars got tossed out because people thought they were broken.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Because people give it the Jaguar shit. They don't really die.
No.
The Jaguar itself. We'll get to the add-on later. But, because, actually another fun fact, the Jaguar was the final system made in America.
Oh, really?
They were made in North Carolina at IBM.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Fun fact. Because even though the Xbox is an American system, those are made in China, people. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cartridge has to be in, or else it's not going to turn on.
Yep.
And before we get to our games, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Woo! Stop.
And we're back.
We're back.
All right.
How have you been?
So now,
it was such a nice break.
did you notice I changed the transition noise on the most recent episodes?
I did, yeah. It startled me at first, but I'm a fan. But I'll miss the da-da sound.
Well, you still hear it at the beginning, but
okay.
Anyways. Now we're gonna get into the actual games we played, and we played a fair amount.
Yeah, we did.
I have I mean, there's not a lot of Jaguar games to begin with.
But you have a pretty good collection.
I have a decent amount. I mean, I've got some goodies in there. I also have some garbage, but let's be fair. The Jaguars library, you got to pick and choose. So.
Yep.
And unfortunately, nowadays Jaguar games are expensive as shit, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But
Jaguar's expensive in general.
I know. I'm glad I got mine for $20.
Wow. You're lucky.
Well, I got it at the flea market when no one gave a shit.
Nice.
But anyways, first game we played, we had to play the tried and true classic of Cybermore.
Where did you learn to fly?
No, actually, in our playthrough, it was avoid the ground.
Avoid the ground. Well,
Okay. It was avoid the ground.
Yes.
So we played Cybermorph, A, because it's the game cartridge I leave in the system 24/7, but also it was the pack-in game. It was also originally in development for the Panther, believe it or not.
Oh, huh.
But I picked that one, A, because it's probably one of the most... It's one of the most iconic Jaguar games there is.
Yeah.
Also, it shows off the 3D capabilities and some of the music capabilities to a degree.
Yeah.
Because there is music that plays during the title screen. That's like the only place you'll ever. That's the only place you'll ever see music on the Jaguar.
Yeah, the title screens and like the ending screens.
And a few games that actually programmed it right, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so the game itself is it's like a Star Fox style shooter, only it's like full 3D rather than a real shooter.
Yeah.
And I mean, I personally think the frame rate is pretty impressive. Like, it's got a full, like, at least 30 frames.
Yeah. That's pretty
and
good.
The only real problem it has is, A, it's not textured, because the Jaguar had issues texturing things.
Yeah. So it's a lot of, like, block
flat colors,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it had, its draw distance is pretty poor.
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely, at times, cannot see where you're going.
Yeah, and when you get really fast, it gets harder to control.
Yes.
But we immediately, the first thing we do is we want to acknowledge the meme. So I crash right into a wall, expecting to hear the classic, "Where did you learn to fly?" And she says, "Avoid the ground." And I was like, oh, okay. So then I start hitting everything, and she just keeps popping up going, "Avoid the ground." I'm like, I'm sitting here going like, were we bamboozled?
Like, were we I know, because it took us like a while, and if you've seen most videos on the Jaguar, like people's video game retrospectives, they always point this out, that it goes, "Where did you learn to fly?"
Yeah, when you hit anything.
But like, it took us like a good, I think, like 50 hits before it actually said, "Where do you learn to fly?"
Yeah, we destroyed the ship twice before she even said it.
Yeah, it took us a while.
And I was like, are we being bamboozled here?
Yeah, I really did think like that. It was just
I thought the Mandela effect was happening for a
that's what
there.
I thought too. I thought it was definitely like a Mandela effect, but nope, we just had to hit it 50 plus times, and then it
Well, because it's funny though, because I was going back and I was thinking like to my previous times playing, I'm like, I swear she said it.
Yeah, you're like, I know I've heard it before.
Yeah, so we messed around with Cybermorph for a bit. I mean, for what it is, it's not the worst game ever made. It's such a product of its time.
And I feel like people definitely overemphasize the controls being bad. I really don't think they were that bad. Like, if I was able to, like, decently able to control it, I wasn't great at it, but I'm not always great at those things, but I think it was exaggerated quite a bit.
I mean, let's be fair, the majority of people who dump on the Jaguar have never actually played.
Yeah.
So now after that we went to a legitimately bad game.
Yes.
The most amazing trash game ever, though. We had to go to Kasumi Ninja.
Oh my god.
Is a Mortal Kombat clone in all sense of the way.
Yep.
It has like blood pouring down the screen when you activate the blood code.
Yep.
And the fighters are just concerning.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little.
It would not get a buy today. Like, it would.
Yeah, it wouldn't be made. This game wouldn't have been made nowadays.
No, it would not. People would.
Although
not
it
be
did give us
happy with
it did give us one of the greatest fighting game characters of all time.
Oh heck yeah! And I played as that character.
Angus. A Scotsman in a kilt, and his special move is he shoots fireballs out of his crotch.
Yep. And we could not figure out how to get the special moves.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out the moves. That game is confusing.
No, couldn't figure it out.
But
also, just to talk about, the menu screen where you pick your fighters is probably the ugliest shit I've ever seen. It's just this brown, tanny, gray scheme, and you can barely tell what you're looking at. Like,
so rather than any other fighting game, which uses a traditional screen with all the characters,
cubes and
it uses a first-person shooter perspective where you have to walk to them, and the frame rate is like 2 frames per second.
It's so ugly.
Everything's gray. It's like,
well, it's like this gray tan. Like, it's a tan gray. It's not even... It's, like, just this really ugly color.
And it's kind of insulting because the Jaguar can do first-person shooters really well.
Yeah. No, it was definitely like a... Ugh. And when you picked your character, you kind of were locked into wherever you were fighting.
Oh,
so...
yeah. Welcome to the combat zone. Yeah.
And...
Oh, that game was so bad.
And just so you all know, I beat Bill every single round.
I wasn't really trying, though. I was trying to figure out this moves.
No, the first round you were trying. The first round we both legitimately tried, and I still won, so
Okay. So then after that, then we played... I think we played Raiden after that. That was the top-down shooter.
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second, so I... What was it?
I think we played Raiden.
Oh, Raiden! That was the one where...
shooter.
Well, didn't you say it was also like an imported game? Like it was...
Not an import, it was a port.
Yeah, a port.
It was an arcade port.
Arcade
and
port.
I believe it was actually also being made for the Panther as well first.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was fun. It's probably the most... This could have been made on any system game we played.
Yeah, that was like the whole gist of it we were playing, and I was like, this is cool, but I could totally see this on this Genesis or the
Super Nintendo.
That's it.
I think it was released on the Super Nintendo, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a good game, but like
it's a top-down shooter. You've played one, you've played them all.
Yeah.
But so then after that, is that when we played Drive Club, or Club Drive?
Club Drive. What was Club Drive about again?
Club Drive was the one where it was the first person you played as the toy car in the room.
Oh, yeah, that
It looked like shit.
Yeah,
everything sounded like a freaking like squeaky toy. Like, oh yeah.
Oh,
so Club Drive was a game I got at Retro World, and I paid $30 for it because that was a cheap Jaguar game.
Yeah.
$30.
No.
And it's like a first-person driving game where you have to like collect items in a room, and it plays okay, but it's not really fun.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like it's such a weird concept for a game.
Yeah.
And the 2-player mode is kind of like one of those trade-off things, and
it's not actually 2-player, so womp womp. Womp.
Yeah, so we played that for a grand like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. The sounds were like ear grating in my brain.
Yeah, they like squeaky toys and stuff. It was weird.
Ugh.
And then we played, speaking of weird, we played quite possibly one of the strangest video games ever made.
Strangest, most amazing video games.
So this is actually the second most expensive Jaguar game I own.
Yep. Rightfully so.
Oh boy. So I bought this one actually a week before we filmed the episode just because I wanted to have it for the episode.
Yes, of course you needed to have it. It's iconic.
Well, it's only iconic for one reason, but even then it's okay. So we're talking about Attack of the Mutant. We're talking about Attack of the Mutant Penguins.
Yes.
So it's like a strategy tower defense game, I want to say.
With penguins in a weird...
Where you play it, yeah. And the whole goal of the game is you have to stop evil penguins from turning into evil mutant penguins.
Well, penguins wearing hats.
Yeah, you stop the penguins wearing hats from turning into evil mutant penguins. And to do that, you have to find letters in treasure chests to get that spell out either bat or pan, depending on which character you're playing as. But you need the only way to open treasure chests is you have to collect gremlins.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, gremlins. These little blue fuzzy creatures.
And then once you get your bat, it doesn't actually damage anything. You have to collect these power orbs that you get from hitting enemies. And then once you get your bat powered up, then you can kill all the evil penguins. You have to do this before the Doom scale gets outweighed evil versus good.
Which the Doom scale is this giant, like...
purple frowny face thing.
Purple frowning face, and it like screams as like
it goes apeshit once it gets knocked out of whack.
And
it was so
bizarre.
confusing. Like, I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, we played a good 3 rounds, and we tried, and it looks cool. It's a great looking game. Like, it looks really good.
I feel like it's something
beautiful 2D.
You have to get the hang of, like, once you really.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
I'm sure, like, it would be easier, but it's bizarre. Also, this game was developed in America too, right?
I think so.
Because it seems so Japan to me for some reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems so strange and bizarre. Like, it just seems like something that Japan would make. Like, so I don't know if it was developed in Japan.
Sunrise Games. They don't have a Wikipedia page. I'm gonna have to do a little more research here. I thought I did enough, but
Well, no, I was just wondering because I just know.
I type Sunrise Games and it leads me to animes that were made by Sunrise.
Oh. Maybe like the game itself and then Sunrise Games?
Oh wait, I found it. Moby Games has the only game they made was Mutant Penguins.
Wow. What a mark to leave on the world.
I can't tell where they were from.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny though, because like it seems something very Japan would do, but also looking though at like the designs, especially like I'm looking at the cursed game over screen right now, and that seems like a very American
that
looking.
We weren't expecting the jump scare and it scared us.
Oh yeah, it's shit. I mean, it's just like look it up. It's like this creepy alien. You know what it kind of looks like? It kind of looks
it's
like
a mutant penguin.
Well, yeah, it's a mutant penguin, but it kind of looks like the villain birds from Crash Bandicoot Twinsanity. It kind of looks like those.
Oh, the evil twins.
Yeah, the evil twins. It kind of has that, which makes me believe it's more of an American design because it almost has like a Tweety Bird-esque face.
Kind of.
If Tweety Bird was like demented and had a unibrow, but you know, it's creepy.
I mean,
it's creepy.
It was certainly an experience, and that game would be completely unknown too if it wasn't for AVGN.
Yeah. No, I mean it.
Hell, most of the Jaguar stuff would be unknown if it wasn't for AVGN.
Honestly, but it is a game.
And that game cost me over $100.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though, because it's
and
just,
my copy isn't
bizarre.
even in great shape.
Yeah, no, yours has like a scratch on like the sticker. It's
the sticker's coming up in one corner. Yeah. So then, of course, we had to trade that off with my second most expensive game for my most expensive game.
Yep.
But my most expensive game is also the best game on the fucking system.
Yes.
Kind of. I mean, debatable, but. So, the next game we decided to play was the original Rayman.
Yes.
Because, believe it or not, Rayman was originally developed for the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Because they moved it from the Super Nintendo to the Jaguar because the Jaguar was superior.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, immediately ported to the PlayStation and Saturn and PC, but that's beside the point.
Yep.
The Atari Jaguar version is the original. And you know what? Aside from the sound being much better in the later versions and the graphics looking slightly brighter, it looks identically the same.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, fun, very challenging but fun game.
Well, yeah, the game's hard. Okay, so but other than the music and like the lack of like cutscenes and stuff because of Jaguar,
yeah, it's
the same game, like front to back. Like plays exactly the same. Everything has the same animation. Like the sounds are a little off. That's really about it.
Yeah.
But it's the same ultra challenging game. Amazing art style. Like,
beautiful. Didn't you say it was like a French designer, right?
Ubisoft's a French company.
Yeah. Well, you can honestly see like kind of the the French like art aesthetic in the background. Like it's a very stylized game, and they're very beautiful backgrounds.
Michel Ancel, he's the name of the creator of Rayman.
Yeah, they're beautiful games. Very pretty.
He's a very interesting guy because he's made some really fascinating games over the years. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Rayman 1 is a phenomenal platformer that's frustratingly hard.
Yeah.
And that's really the only downside to Rayman 1, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just,
but yeah, the Jaguar version is.
Well, didn't you say it's because like the main flaw of it is because rather than like the most current game where like you don't have like a live system and where like even though it's like very easy to kill you, you respawn immediately. And this game had a life system.
Yes. The biggest flaw with Rayman is it has a live system. Yes. And a live system makes any hard game immediately more frustrating than... Lives are an antiquated concept in gaming. Like, that's why Mario finally dropped them.
Yeah.
With Odyssey. Like, they're pointless. There's no reason for them anymore.
Yeah.
Because Rayman Origins and Legends, getting a little off track here, hard as hell games. Equally as fun. But they have no live system, so you don't care. Like, if you die, oh well, keep going.
Oh well, let's try it again. Yeah, I feel like the live system. Well, I feel like the live system was mostly created for like
It was so.
If you were playing like arcades, like because you'd have to put in another quarter. Yeah. But like nowadays, we don't really need that system anymore. Like.
No, it's an antiquated, dead concept that a lot of games refuse to give up.
Yeah. Give it up, game developers. We don't want that anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why most have moved on. But anyways, so Rayman is definitely... The only reason I don't want to call it the killer app of the system is because it's been released on other systems.
Yeah.
Well, even then again, though, technically what I consider the best game on the system has been released on other systems too.
Yeah. Well, I guess
it's
I guess you could say it's not like the superior version of Rayman, like the original.
No, but
like there is better versions to play, but it is an iconic version.
If you're gonna play Rayman, the most convenient way to play it is the PlayStation version.
Yeah.
Or if you really want the Saturn version, but that's more expensive. But,
yeah.
But anyways, moving on from Rayman, then we had to follow up an amazing platformer with one of the most garbage platformers ever made.
Ugh.
So, of course, another game I have is Bubsy. Infractured Furry Tales, I want to say is the name.
Yep.
The third Bubsy game, and it's not good. So
why does he
it's
glide?
basically
He's a cat. Why does he glide? He's a cat. Cats don't glide. They just jump and land on their feet. Right, Tilly? You don't glide up. She's licking her. Yeah.
So.
Gross.
Bubsy is what it. Bubsy is what it is. It's. You either like Bubsy or you don't like Bubsy. Most people don't like Bubsy.
No.
He's a meme. We get it.
He's ugly. Oh my God!
Honestly,
there's a picture of Bubsy, and he's getting the shit beat out of him by Mario and Sonic. And honestly, I encourage it. You know, kill Bubsy. Bubsy is the worst.
Out of all the Bubsy games made, I am convinced this one is the worst.
Yeah.
Because I know Bubsy 3D is a flaming pile of shit, but at least there was something they were trying there.
It's laughably funny. Like, it's laughably awful. Like, it's so bad it's actually hilarious.
That and the company that made Bubsy 3D actually went on to become one of the greatest developers in video game history.
True. Not this one. No.
Well, no. Magitech Design made half the games on the Jaguar.
Oh.
They did like almost all the company that made Bubsy for the Jaguar actually ported so many games for the Jaguar. It's not even funny. But yeah. So the Bubsy 1, I like to say, is a hidden. It's not great, but it's not an awful game. Bubsy 2 is okay. This game sucks. This game is basically all the problems with Bubsy 1, but they stretch the levels out to be way too big.
So it won't end.
Yeah, I can't get past the first damn level. It's too long, and I get frustrated, and then I just quit.
Yeah. Honestly, understandable.
It's also the most expensive Bubsy game I own.
Wow. You own
I paid
multiple
the most.
Bubsy games? Why?
I own every Bubsy game.
Are you Bubsy's #1 fan, Bill?
Okay, so off topic, but when the new Bubsy games came out,
Yep.
and I went to GameStop. I wasn't even planning on picking them up. I just saw it on the shelf for $10, and I was like, sure, it's already down that low. Why not?
Wow.
But the guy was telling me that some dude showed up day one in a Bubsy shirt, like Bubsy everything, to buy the game.
Yeah.
And he's not sure if it was a joke or not.
I don't think it was a joke. I think that's
No, I think it was a
Bubsy's
legitimate
number one
Bubsy fan.
Yeah. Didn't you say,
But
too,
yeah.
Bubsy had, like, an animated, like, show and the voice actor refuses to acknowledge that they voiced Bubsy?
So there was an animated pilot, which was financed by Taco Bell, of all things.
Oh,
It never got past the pilot phase. The only reason anyone knows about it is because it was included on the PC version of Bubsy
that's hilarious.
as an extra. And it's the most garbage. It's the most garbage thing you'll ever. You can find it on YouTube easily. It's.
gonna look that
I
up.
wouldn't watch it though. It's terrible.
Okay, never mind.
But well, I mean, if you're curious, you only have to watch a few minutes of it to understand.
A few minutes to get to the point that it's shit.
But the voice who the guy who provided Bubsy's voice in the pilot, along with in the Jaguar game and Bubsy 2, was Rob Paulson.
Yep.
Who was like I think he was Yakko Warner, Carl from Jimmy Neutron, a whole ton of I think he was Pinky too from Pinky and the Brain.
Sorry,
But
that's
yeah,
one of his
like,
iconic lines as Carl. He goes,
Oh, yeah.
"What's up?"
But yeah, he voiced a ton of characters, but he refuses to acknowledge Bubsy.
I don't blame him, because Bubsy sucks. Like, why does
Hey,
he have a stupid exclamation point on his shirt? Like,
Because he's extreme.
no, he should have, like, a middle. He should have, like, a middle finger. Because fuck
Just a
you,
turd.
Bubsy.
The poop. No, it's the poop emoji.
Yeah, the poop emoji, because his games suck.
Hey, Paws on Fire is a really good endless runner. I don't care what anyone says.
I didn't even play Bubsy, and I just watched you play it, and I was like, ugh, like I could just tell it was bad.
I will show you Paws on Fire someday, just so you can see that there is a good Bubsy game.
Okay,
I don't
I'll
care what
believe
anyone
it
says.
when I see it.
I don't care what anyone says. Paws on Fire is a good endless runner.
All right,
But
I'll believe it when I
so
see
anyways,
it.
yeah, after Bubsy, then we played another platformer called Zool 2.
Yes, which was sponsored by Lollipops.
It was like Jujubes or something. No, it was something weird.
Chupa
Oh yeah,
Chups.
Chupa Chews or something stupid like
Chupa
that.
Chups.
Yeah. It's the most generic platformer I think I've ever played.
Also, it has such ugly character designs.
Oh, and it's so bright and colorful. It's like a Genesis game on steroids.
Yeah. Well, it's very like the control. Like it looks kind of Sonic X in some.
Yeah. But it doesn't control nearly as fluid as Sonic.
It controls horribly. I was playing it for like a couple minutes, and I was just like, ugh, like. You know, like when you're playing a game and you're just like, this just feels awful. Like,
Yeah.
it just felt awful. I had no idea how you were moving around so fluently. Like, I think it's just
because I've played a lot
skill.
of. I've played Sonic 06. I know how to play a overly
True,
sensitive platformer. But
Yeah, the Zool character. But the bizarre thing, though, was like that it was like sponsored by.
Oh,
like
you want to hear a fun fact about the Zool character?
Sure.
So he had the two games. He almost had a comeback.
Oh no.
They were attempting to make a third game. It
Yep.
never came to be though because of licensing issues. But you know what? That third game still came out.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, and you know what it's called?
What?
Ninja Breadman.
Oh, I remember hearing about that.
It's one of the worst games ever made. It's
Oh.
bad, but
Oh,
they played it on Game.
badly. I heard about it.
They played it on Game Grumps.
You know what's really funny? You know how like in the game they show the sponsorship like everywhere. It's very
Oh, yeah.
heavily like advertised, but on the box art, it's nowhere to be found. There's no mention of it. Like look up the box art.
Yeah, that's a good
There's
point.
no mention of it. There's nothing on it. But the game is like covered in like the Chupa Chups logo. Like it's everywhere, but it's not on the box at all. And I'm looking
must
at
have been
like eBay,
Some
like
sort of, yeah.
boxes. Like that's just like even like the back of it. I mean, the back of it has like a picture of it, but that's just in the game. There's literally no mention of it. That's pretty bizarre.
That was just a thing with games. Like, Bubsy 2 was sponsored by Nerf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bubsy had a Nerf gun in the game.
Huh. It's so weird. Just a weird way. I guess sponsorships, like, it's just our thinking of how sponsorships work these days. Like, it's just so weird to me.
I know. But, so then after that, then I played a couple more. I just wanted to show Alex that one of the Jaguar's specialties was first-person shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I showed off Wolfenstein 3D.
Yep.
Which is a very, very solid port of Wolfenstein 3D.
Yep.
I don't own Jaguar Doom, although Jaguar Doom is arguably one of the best ports of Doom.
Yep.
Aside from the fact that it has no music.
Yeah, but that's okay, so just play your own music in the background.
But here, a fun fact. Jaguar Doom was actually the only port of Doom that was actually made by id Software.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, John Carmack actually has said in interviews that he actually, like, believes the Jaguar could have been pretty powerful if it had some additional, like, chips and stuff, like, added to it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's one of, like, the best ports of the game, but literally every single port is based off of that version. Except for the Super Nintendo port.
Huh.
That is the one port that is not based off the Jaguar port. It's an odd inconsistency.
Interesting.
But then after that, I played very briefly. I showed off what is a lot of people consider this the best Jaguar game, Alien vs Predator.
Yes.
Which is a very solid first-person shooter.
Yeah, it looked like a very decent game. I didn't love it because, like, it
you're
creeps
not really
me
into
out.
Aliens.
I don't know, like...
It actually scared us.
Yeah, no, we actually got jump scared at one
Yeah, because
point.
I was joking about the aliens, how, like, you never see we couldn't find any of the aliens, and I was, like, creeping around corners. Right as we were about to stop, I turned a corner and one just jumps right in front of us, and I was like, whoa!
Yeah, we both were, like, super, like, oh, at the time.
And I fucking murdered it because I was playing as the Marine at the time. Yep. But yeah, so Alien vs Predator is probably one of the best Jaguar games. But then, in my opinion, after that we played what I consider the best Jaguar game.
Yes.
Tempest 2000.
Yep.
I fucking love Tempest 2000.
It's just a simple, fun game.
Yeah, and it's also one of the Jaguar games that uses the sound card to its full potential.
Yeah.
With, like, the most amazing techno soundtrack ever.
And can't you, like, isn't there actual, like, physical CDs of the soundtrack?
Yeah, they released
itself?
they released it on CD.
That's hilarious.
Oh my god, it is so amazing.
I was gonna say, I just really like to imagine you driving in your car and just jamming to Tempest 2000
I've done it.
music.
I
know you have, and I just like to imagine it because it's pretty funny.
That is Sandstorm. I've jammed out to before.
Like the rude Sandstorm?
Yeah.
Well, just remember, if anyone asks you what song something is on a YouTube video, you have to just comment Darude Sandstorm.
I know the meme.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you knew. You still gotta do it. It's law now. It is the Darude Sandstorm
I actually
law.
I have a Tempest 2000 boxed too. Like, that's one of my few boxed Jaguar games I own.
I gotta say, looking at the box art right now, I think it's a little misleading with the giant alien.
That's in the game.
Oh, it is? The giant alien's in the game?
It's way down. You got to get like wicked far.
Oh, you got to get wicked far.
It doesn't look like that exactly, but there is like things that come out the screen like that and come up towards your little shooty thing. Like, obviously, I know James was making a joke in the AVGN episode, but if you get far enough, that does happen.
Okay.
I got to it and I was like, it's the thing!
It's the thing on the box!
I was like,
I'm
yes!
at level 1002, but it's the thing on the box!
I had a Tempest 2000 match, because every time I break the Jaguar out, I have to play Tempest 2000. It's just required.
Yep.
And it has to be the Jaguar version of Tempest 2000, because I have other versions of Tempest 2000 that aren't nearly as fun, in my opinion.
Yep.
But, I had one playthrough once that went on for 4 hours.
Oh my god.
Like, I kept winning. I was like, I can't stop. I'm not going to stop till I lose my lives.
I'm not going to stop this streak, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I got to the thing, and I was like, wow.
The thing!
Yeah, but, so I guess that was for our playthrough. I mean, we had fun, though. I mean, this is what the thing. People shit on the Jaguar. We had a blast playing
No,
with it.
it was pretty, I mean, it was fun. Like, I think it had bad development and stuff, but, like, development issues and sales issues.
I won't lie. I won't lie. For the time, you were stupid if you picked Jaguar over a Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah,
Genesis.
you know, definitely.
Hell, or even a 3DO.
Honestly, yeah, but it's fun. I mean, and it's fun, and honestly, like, even when the games kind of sucked, like Cybermorph, it's just funny. Like, it's just funny to like watch, but it's also an interesting part of time, you know.
And before we move on, I do want to talk about the CD add-on.
The toilet?
Well, yeah, besides the fact that when you plug it into the system, it looks like a fucking shitter. But, so the CD add-on was added very late into the Jaguar's lifespan. It's basically just the Sega CD, like, that style of thing.
Yep.
And it is one of the most flawed, like, clearly not beta-tested things ever released.
It was released quickly because they needed to sell it quickly.
They needed money. They were going under fast.
Yep.
And basically, from what I've read, is the actual door, like, that goes on top of the system, was too tight. So it actually pressed down on the disc while it was spinning. And it would burn the motors out. That's why so many Jaguar CDs are dead.
You know, I'm looking at an image of it right now, and honestly, you can, like, clearly see that the indent of, like, where the disc is, like, the ridge of where the disc is to the little line of the top of it, it is too big. Like, it looks too big.
It was too tight in there. Like, it was...
Yeah.
So, a lot of... Finding a Jaguar CD that works is hard enough, and they're expensive as shit as it is.
Yeah.
So, that's why I don't have one. I have no... There's some interesting games released for it, but I honestly have no desire right now.
And, I mean, if you're really desperate to play them, there's probably a port of it at this point.
An emulator anyways, maybe.
Yeah, like an emulator, that's what I meant to say. There's, like, some way you could play it. But, yeah, that is really funky. Like, just looking at it, it so clearly looks like it's too big. Like, the top piece, like the cover is too big for the indent provided.
Oh, the Jaguar also was going to have...
I just wonder if that was like a design issue, like someone messed up the tolerancing on it.
Oh, it was probably it was probably rushed. It was definitely rushed.
Yeah.
Clearly wasn't beta tested.
Wow.
So, another thing too is, like, Atari was so in the shitter for money at this point, but they were trying a lot of cool things. Like, they were actually trying to make a virtual reality helmet at one point.
Wow. It's pretty neat.
Like, there's pictures of the Jaguar VR around. It never got super far, though. And, of course, Atari Corp would go bankrupt. And this is where Atari's history gets even weirder. So, Atari got bought by a company called, like, JTS or JTC or something. Mm-hmm. Who then immediately sold them to Hasbro Interactive.
Huh.
And Hasbro would use the Atari name to, like, release a bunch of games. Like, they did all those, like, remakes of, like, Pong and Q*bert and Centipede and, like, I think the next Tetris used the Atari brand.
Yep.
And they'd basically hold on to Atari until Hasbro eventually sold off Hasbro Interactive to a French company, believe it or not, a French company called Infogrames. Mm-hmm. And you've probably seen the Infogrames logo before. It's a very iconic to the 90s logo.
Yep.
But they bought basically Hasbro Interactive, and in that got everything Atari owned.
Yep.
Like, they got all of their stuff, so they had Atari by this point. And by the early 2000s, they kind of stopped using the Infogrames name and just started using the Atari name for all their publishing.
Oh, wow.
And they've actually, even further beyond that now, they've just stopped using Infogrames entirely, and they're just Atari now. So the Atari that exists today is actually a company called Infogrames that bought the right assets of what was once Atari Corp.
Yep.
So in reality, the two halves of the original Atari are now what's left of Infogrames.
Yep.
And the half Atari Games is now somewhere in the Warner Brothers vault.
Never.
Because Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers bought Midway Games after they went under.
Yeah.
So yeah, some interesting shit, but that's not even where it ends. Because
No.
then there's what happened to the. So after everything, after Hasbro bought Atari Corp,
Mm-hmm.
they actually made the Jaguar an open source platform, so anyone could like do whatever they wanted with it. And there's actually a big homebrew scene of Jaguar games. Like you can find them online. Hell, people are making actual cartridges now that you can play in the system.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
And there's some impressive shit because people are figuring the system out now.
Yeah.
But that's not where the Jaguar's story ends. Because the Jaguar would eventually be sold to this company called... what is their name? They were a electronics company.
It's a Imagine Systems Corporation.
Yes. And they had a device called the Hot Rod, which was a dental camera.
Yeah.
It's literally... If you look up a picture of the thing, it is literally a Jaguar mounted to a wall with a camera sticking out of the side of it.
Well, it's actually interesting too. So I'm looking at it, and like someone made like a diagram that shows like how each like part of it was used. So the cartridge spot was actually used as a memory card.
Yeah,
that
it was
the
additional
memory cards for it, and then it's showing. It's kind of fascinating. Like I can't believe this is like a thing. I kind of want to buy one. Like see if you can buy one because it's just.
Yeah, there's some of them out there that you can still... Because it's been discontinued because the company's obviously made superior versions since.
Oh, yeah. But it's so fascinating.
But it's funny because you look at a picture, it's literally a Jaguar hanging on the wall.
And you know what's kind of funny is that, like, you know, I kind of like the white Jaguar. Like, it kind of looks nice. Well, because it reminds me of the Dreamcast. It looks kind of nice. Like,
it's kind of sad, though, because the Jaguar... So... It isn't the actual Jaguar inside the shell. It's literally just the Jaguar. They reuse the Jaguar shell.
Oh yeah, it's the Jaguar. Like they use the molds for it, basically.
So the sad thing is, though, the story of the molds doesn't end there. Though the Jaguar molds have been around.
Oh wow!
Because eventually that company sold them off to this guy named, I forget his name, but he tried to make like a new retro console. Called the Coleco Chameleon.
Oh.
Which was this... It was... I don't really even know what it was supposed to be because the whole thing ended up being a scam.
Yeah.
But,
womp womp.
He had bought the Jaguar molds for the console, so the system was going to just look like a Jaguar.
Yeah.
But from what I remember, is the story is he showed it off at an expo, and there was literally a Super Nintendo inside of the thing.
Oh my god.
And then he got caught, so it was like, oh shucks, well, next time it'll be real. So then he showed it off again, and he actually made a custom see-through shell. And he and it was like, see, there's electronic gizmos in there. And somebody literally looked at it for 3 minutes and was like, that's just a capture card.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Dude, like, what were you think was gonna happen?
So the whole thing ended up being a scam, I guess. I've read the story once, but eventually Coleco, the company that owns the name Coleco now, because it's not the actual Coleco, basically took back their naming rights, and then eventually the thing just fizzled out. And now I believe the Atari Jaguar molds are owned by a fan site called Atari Age. I believe the founder of that site owns them now.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now. That's so funny.
Yeah, you feel that the Jaguar's been around. Like, that system's legacy is fascinating.
Wow. It's very fascinating.
Atari in itself is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
To, like, explore there.
interesting to do a podcast like on the original Atari because like there were some interesting things on that game.
Oh yeah,
and just the culture around gaming at that time was very different.
One of these days, I don't think immediately, but one of these days we should do the 2600. I have a 2600 now.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting.
I mean, I'd rather do Virtual Boy first, just because that thing's fascinating too.
Oh yeah.
And Saturn. Saturn's big on my list too. We got so many potential ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that would be cool.
The Jaguar.
The Jaguar.
What a legend.
Oh, we never talked about the title screen.
Oh yeah, the title screen.
Yeah.
It growls at you.
Yeah, it's
then,
like this cube of Jaguars, and it just spins and growls.
And then the letters pop down, and they're like, it's like Atari sound effects. It's like do.
Yep. And if your game is not properly, if the
if it can't read the card,
it will just like growl and do red screen.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that was a fun talk. I adore the Jaguar. Honestly, I have a weird obsession with failed consoles.
It was really fun. Like, I thought it was a fun console to play, you know? It was definitely better than the N64, in my opinion. You got frustrated by the N64. The N64.
Granted,
I just hate the
N64.
We're
We're PlayStation babies. We grew up with that thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I want to see your thoughts on the Saturn, because we've done pretty much every 5th gen system at this point.
All right, let's do it. Next podcast. No, not the very next one, but in the future. Maybe in the new year. In season 2.
You're getting a little ahead of yourself.
Well.
But anyways, guys, thanks once again for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. You can find the Gaming and Collecting Podcast on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we are made on Anchor Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, or on Good Pods, and also on YouTube. The episodes eventually will go up there, usually whenever I get around to it. It takes a little bit of time.
Yep.
But until next time, guys, we will see you all later.